大家好，我是康 Yun. Hello everyone, I'm Kang Yun, and welcome back to Demon Souls. I'd like to wish everybody a happy New Year's. Currently it is 11:21 Central where I'm at, so it's already 2021 on the East Coast, and it's been 2021 in China and Asia and Europe, other parts of the world already. But I hope everybody's having a good New Year's Eve. It's been not too super eventful for me. I just I've just been enjoying some whiskey that my dad brought back, some Whistle Pig Rye. Anyways, this video is going to be a showcase of the, I guess we'll say, special or unique weapons. The other weapons that are needed for the what is it, Proud Knights trophy. I forget the name of the trophy, but all of these weapons, or most all of them, require Colourless Demon Souls to upgrade and were needed for the trophy in the original game. I'm going to showcase them all here. I don't know if I'll be able to get through them all. Excuse me, there's quite a few. But we'll start off right away with, and they're not all weapons, I should say. They're like, we'll start off with the Adjudicator Shield. I've been using this most of my entire playthrough. The Adjudicator Shield you get in 4-1. It's guarded by a black dual katana skeleton. It's not ideal for blocking, as it only blocks 90% physical. It's decent for magic, but it doesn't block that much fire at all. It's pretty much terrible at blocking fire, so never block fire with this weapon or with this shield. And has 50 stability. If you compare that to my fully upgraded heater shield, the heater shield has weaker magic block, but it's better in all other aspects, and it can parry. This cannot parry. It has a slam. This isn't really intended as a for really blocking things unless you really have to. Essentially, it's used for its HP regen, and it's a very strong regen effect. When fully upgraded, as it is, it will regen 8 HP per second, and that will stack with other blessed and regen items. So yeah, that's the Adjudicator Shield. It does a slam attack. And I'll just sort of showcase it here. You see how against enemies like these, it basically almost nullifies their poor chip damage that they do to me. So yeah, that's the Adjudicator Shield. It's pretty much a staple for any faith build, and you don't need to meet the requirements for it to get the regen effect. In my main hand is the Baby Snail. It is the next weapon I'd like to showcase. The Baby Snail is a pretty weak dagger, but when you attack enemies, it can apply the plague. This guy has plague now. You can see that on him, and he's losing 2 HP per second. But that is because it's unupgraded. Upgrading this weapon doesn't actually do much for its damage, but it will increase the rate at which it builds up plague, and increase the amount of damage that the plague it inflicts will do. It's actually a really good weapon to combine with a Faith build because you can inflict plague on your opponent while you have HP regen, and so even while if you're backing off to regen health, and they're plagued, they will slowly take damage while you are regenning damage. The Adjudicator Shield, I forgot to say, requires 14 strength to wield properly. Not a big deal. The Baby's Nail is... anything can wield this. It's 7 strength. Doesn't have any scaling, really. I mean, it gets E in strength, but that's nothing, basically. It's, like I said, it's not meant for damage. It's meant for its plague effect. And I get the bare minimum of its plague damage from it. You'll see this quite a bit in PvP. It's pretty popular. You can parry with it in the offhand. It's a fun little weapon. So moving on, we have Blind. This is a really cool sword. Oh, I forgot to say, the Baby's Nail you get in the Fool's Idol boss room. Sage Frake also drops it if you do kill him. The Blind is the weapon that Sylvan Vinland drops. Her Black Phantom, Sylvan Vinland. When you kill her, the Blind is a full-out dex weapon, S scaling and dex, 24 dex requirement, only 3 strength, which is like it's funny that they even have a strength requirement, because it's like I think the lowest strength you can get on any character is like 6 maybe, I don't remember, but it's really cool. It has only 70 base physical damage. It does slashing. Obviously, it's a curved sword. It has basic curved sword moveset. And as I said, all these weapons, pretty much all of them, apart from maybe one, can be upgraded with Colourless Demon Souls. And when it's fully upgraded, and you have like a fair amount of dex, it's still a pretty, I would say, underpowered weapon. The unique features of this weapon comes in that it is the lightest item in the game at 0.1 unit. It's very light, and it goes through shields. It ignores shields, and it does do bleed, as you saw. So we'll see if we can get this guy to block. We do pretty bad damage with it because we don't meet the requirements. I'm not gonna bother killing these enemies with it. I just want to inflict bleed on him if I can. I wonder if you can inflict bleed if you don't meet the requirements. I know you can bleed these Dreglings, whatever. You can't seem to, and I don't meet the requirements. I will eventually make a proper build that this will be the main weapon of Sylvan Vinland build. It's a really cool weapon. Ignores shields. Basically a fully dedicated dex build, because if you don't have 20 dex, 24 dex, you can't wield it. So most characters are not going to have that much dex unless they're like making a dedicated dex build. Next, we have the Bramd. Now this is Sylvan's brother's weapon. The Gargoyle Vinland. I've showed you this before. I also cannot wield this, unfortunately. Bramd requires 36 strength, and it's funny, his sister's weapon is the lightest weapon in the game, whereas his is the heaviest in the game, the heaviest item. It is a great hammer. It has the same moveset as the axes, as the great axes, and it gets that cool effect on it. Interestingly enough, it gives you plague and poison resist, much like the Istarelles. So if you for whatever reason want to stack plague and poison resist, you could equip both the plague and poison resist ring, Istarelle and Bramd, and you would have you pretty much wouldn't get poisoned for a long time. But I can't actually wield it. You get it from killing Black Phantom Garl Vinland and Pure White World Tendency in the Valley of Defilement. And the shield that he uses is the Dark Silver Shield. This is a pretty good shield, much more worthwhile. Requires 16 strength, and it has 100% physical and 100% magic block. Obviously, I can't display the magic block here, but that is a good reason why you see this shield a lot. And when fully upgraded, it does have a it does increase its stability from 50 to, I think, I don't know, like 60 something maybe. I can't remember, but it does weigh a fair amount at 5 units, so it's a heavier shield, but it's hard to deny that having both 100% physical and magic block and a good guard break reduction is a bad thing. And you get the Dark Silver Shield by killing Garl Vinland in his body form when you do the Maideness Triad boss fight. So the next weapon is the Demonbrandt, which I've shown before. This weapon you get by improving yourself to Old King Doran. If you do, I think, like a quarter of his health, he will allow you to take the sword. You do not have to kill him for it. And this sword, it requires 18 strength, 14 dex, and 12 faith. It does not scale with any stats. It scales with your character tendency. If you have neutral or lower tendency, it will do 0 damage. Whereas if you have pure white character tendency like my character here, it will have 480 damage. So this is good for low level builds or anybody who has pure white tendency. Basically co-op builds that tend to stay with white tendency. This is a good sword to use. 1 second, guys. Pouring myself some tea. Yeah, so this is, as I've shown before, a pretty powerful weapon, and it's got your standard large sword moveset. And it does do magic damage, though for whatever reason it doesn't show up like on the Northern Regalia. And then I'll just basically show the counterpart, the Soulbrandt, which is essentially the same weapon except for it scales with pure black tendency. So this is the sword that you'll see invaders using. And if you have pure black tendency, see, I have pure white, so it does 0 damage. It literally does no damage. See if I can showcase that here. Yeah. Yeah, I literally don't even hurt these enemies with it. It's it's kind of funny how that works, but yeah, that's the Soulbrandt. If you have pure black tendency, that's the sword you want. And the Northern Regalia as I've shown, I don't have it on me. That one will work either way. The next weapon is the... I'm trying to do these in the alphabetical order, I believe. The Epee Rapier. I don't meet the requirements for this weapon, but it's the rapier. You get this... You can get it in 2 different ways. The first is after you drop the heart and latria, it's picked up with the gold mask. It is a dex and magic weapon requiring 24 magic to benefit from that fire damage, and then it does scale decently with dex. Pretty good for magic or spell sword users, I would say. It's your standard rapier moveset, but the fact that it does fire damage makes it pretty unique and kind of cool. It's not overly powerful, but it's stylish and good for, as I said, dex and magic builds, spell swords, essentially. I can't really do too much damage with it. And the next one is Geri's Stiletto, another rapier weapon. This one is quite small. This you get from Sage Frake when he frees you, or when you free him. This weapon, I believe, leeches HP. Oh, you can buff it. I didn't even realize that. So you see my MP bar coming up. I did not realize you could buff this weapon. That makes it actually pretty viable for a magic user who wants to, like, get some FP back. And, you know, for as little damage as it does, granted, I don't meet the requirements for it. But, like, if that doesn't matter to you and you just want to get some mana back, that's pretty cool. So let's see, what does it require? 7 strength, 14 magic. So it's basically, it's an all-out magic weapon. E scaling in strength and D in magic. One second, guys. Alright, sorry about that. My controller was about to die and I wanted to change it out. So yeah, this weapon seems like it could be pretty viable as an offhand weapon for mage, especially since you can buff it. I didn't realize that you could, which is cool because it does do magic damage innately. It's not an overly strong weapon, but its main fact is that it leeches MP. It doesn't... I don't think it takes it from the enemy, but you do get MP back when you land attacks. And because the attacks are not super strong, you can get quite a few hits in to get your MP back. So a lot of these weapons I'm not able to use properly because, well, I don't meet the requirements. The next weapon is the Hiltless, or gripless, we'll say. This is a katana, obviously. Oops. Requires 18 strength, and I think across the board all katanas require 18 strength. And this requires 19 dex, which I think is the highest of any katana. And it scales E in strength and B in dex. These are all while unupgraded. Some of them likely will be stronger. Or that is to say, will have better scaling when upgraded. I've not played around with katanas too much in this game. I know they're pretty good and a lot of people like them. But what's unique about this weapon, you can get it in the cave, in the slug room at the bottom of 4-2, and then if you kill Tatsuki, he will drop it. I think if you kill his human form, he drops it. This weapon, because it doesn't have a hilt, will deal damage to you every hit you land. See how my health is going down? It's for me not being able to wield this, it's pretty inefficient. So you want to offset that with some regen. So that's where, if you were going to use this weapon, this is where, like, say, an Adjudicator Shield or Regenerator Ring would be important to use. But yeah, this is the Hiltless. This is the one-handed move set. That one-handed thrust is really quick. It doesn't have a good follow-up, but the let's see, what is the running R1? The running R1 is a thrust. It catches it's what you see katana users use a lot. Is that running R1, which is pretty sure it's the same with the backstep. Yep. Two-handed, is it the same? Yep, it's also a thrust. Rolling, it's an upward slash. Yeah, so, and the two-handed R2 is an overhead. The overhead downward slash. So, a pretty cool weapon. If you like katanas. Not weapon I've used a whole lot. It does 180 bleed. So we're going in alphabetical order here. So the next is the Hands of God, which I've shown you guys these before. I will upgrade this other one to have 2 fully upgraded. You get these at the bottom of 2-2 right before the Flame Lurker fight, guarded by 3. Guarded by 3 of those rock worms. The R2 will send enemies flying if you land it, and the same thing with the running R1. Knocks them down, and then I believe the backstep R1. Yep, knocks them back. Good knockback move. Fun weapons to use, not super powerful. What we can compare here, so this is an unupgraded one. It scales D in strength and D in faith. Requires 19 strength, 16 faith. And my damage on that is 153. When it's fully upgraded, it scales B in strength and faith, and it goes up to 195 with my stats. I have 19 strength and 50 faith. So you see the scaling I'm getting quite a bit more magic damage from the scaling and minimal strength. So, yeah, they have a pretty high durability, 727. You're not going to break them anytime soon. Maybe a good weapon to use against Acid Surge users or, well, I would say against Scraping Spear, but these are kind of, would be terrible to fight against a spear. So, yeah, that's the God Hands, or the God Fist, or Hands of God, whatever you want to call them. And next is another weapon that I use quite a bit, the Istarelle. We know about this weapon. It is another faith-based weapon. You get this in Pure White Tendency in the Valley of Defilement. I've shown how you get this. You actually get a trophy in this version of the game for getting this weapon. It scales S in Faith and E in Strength. I think it starts in A scaling, and its scaling with Strength is so minimal. It's basically a pure Faith weapon. If you do not meet that 18 Dex requirement, which is rather high for Strength builds, or Faith builds rather, it's okay because you're just gonna lose out on that almost meaningless physical damage, and you'll just get all the damage from the magic still. It's the shortest of the spears, but as I've shown before, it has a unique property in that it increases your plague and poison resist by quite a bit. So it's great for going through the swamp. Basic spear move set. You've seen me use this plenty of times before. So this is the Istarelle. Really cool weapon in my opinion. I love the way it looks, especially like the way it looks in the remake. Next up is the Dragon Bone Smasher. And I do not meet the requirements for this weapon to even two-hand it. This you need Pure White Tendency. I've shown this in my playthrough. Getting it, you need 30 strength to wield this one-handed. Scales B in strength, and that scaling will go up a good amount when you fully upgrade it, and has a flat or a base 200 physical damage. So you see this weapon quite a bit. It's one of the most popular weapons for strength builds. It hits very hard, and you can buff it, as you've seen before. It actually, it has the ultra large sword moveset, which is different from the other swords. So it's a bit unique. So this is the one-handed R1. It's just an overhead slam. This is the one-handed R2. And that has a follow-up to it. So it's pretty cool. So I can't actually but that will send enemies, knock them back. We're just needlessly taking damage here. Yeah, it sends enemies flying. And it's a cool follow-up. The backstep R1. It's an overhead slam. And I think the running R1 is the same. Yeah, it's an overhead slam. And the rolling R1. Oh, this is two-handed. The rolling R1, that is a knockback. People love that move. It sends enemies flying. I don't know if it's not having the proper effects because I can't actually use it. I feel like that might be the case, because I know enemies have gone flying further. So this is the two-handed move set. This actually has a 3-hit combo, but it's very slow, so... And then if they... If I can actually pull it off without getting hit... Does it have a 3-hit combo? Let's see. I need a full stamina bar to do this. It's just a chain into itself, but it chains pretty fluidly. So, and this is the R2 overhead, and then a follow-up R2 where you slam it down. That has a pretty small hitbox, but it does do an area of effect. The rolling R1 is an overhead slam. The backstep R1 is that flip that sends enemies flying. And I believe it's the same with the running R1, yeah. This is the same moveset as the Great Sword. So there it is, guys. That is the Dragon Bone Smasher. You get that in Pure White World Tendency in the Dragon God boss room. Next up is another weapon I can't use. Many of these I can't use, as I keep saying. This is the Kris Blade. This is not typically meant to be a proper weapon that you're going to deal damage with, although it could be fairly decent on a magic build. It scales B in magic, D in strength. It requires 16 magic and 8 strength. It's your basic straight sword moveset. Nothing special about that, but it's typically used in the offhand because it increases the damage of spells. I'll showcase both of those things, and the damage that and the amount that it can increase. What am I saying? Its effect of powering up your spells increases as you upgraded, so it actually gets quite a bit stronger, or your spells will get quite a bit stronger when you have it fully upgraded. So it's a pretty essential weapon for mages in this game. So we do pitiful damage. We can't wield it properly. But if I were to change to this catalyst, so we'll see, I do, I do 1 damage per hit, and with this, I still do 1. Well, I can't properly display that, because I don't meet the requirements for this, this catalyst. I don't make requirements for any of the catalysts, as far as I can recall. But yeah, just know that's its main purpose, is for being a magic tool. So that's the Kris Blade. You get this in Stonefang in the first half, right before you encounter the armored spider. Before you take the lift down, it's on some scaffolding. The next one is the large Brushwood shield, which we cannot use, but this is Bjor's shield if he ever takes it out. This shield has a pretty high stability and blocks 100% fire and physical. Not very good magics, but this is one of your go-to shields for fire. It's pretty heavy though, at 13 units. I can't use it properly. This guy is way past his boundary, so that's why he's not attacking me. Because he leashes here. But because we can't wield it, we're not able to take advantage of it. I don't know if it will block this fire damage. No, it doesn't seem to. So yeah, this is the Brushwood Shield. I guess it's useful if you like large shields. It has a slam attack, and if you want to block fire damage for whatever reason. I think it's outclassed by the Purple Flame Shield. The Purple Flame Shield doesn't block. I think it blocks 90 fire, but it's much lighter. And what does this require? It requires 26 strength. And the Purple Flame Shield, I think, has a lower strength requirement, so and you can get it right away. You can get this shield in multiple different ways. You get it excuse me, you get it mainly in Pure White Tendency in this level, right behind Meralda at the bottom of the execution pit. So yeah, that's the Brushwood Shield. The next weapon is a weapon I use all the time, or have used, the large sword of Moonlight. Needs no introduction. You've seen me use this plenty of times. It's a faith weapon. Requires 24 faith, scales S in faith, deals nothing but magic damage. And it has the unique properties of being able to go through shields. It also has the highest durability of any weapon in the game at 900. Weighs only 2 units, which is the lightest of the large swords, because it's literally a blade of Moonlight, and the only thing that has weight is the hilt. Really cool weapon. Love the way it looks in the remake. It bypasses shields. You've seen me use it, as I said. Don't need to spend too much time here on that one. Oh, I guess I've been saying this. So you get this by dropping the Slug's Nest in Valley of Defilement 5-2. Have to kill a bunch of slugs, and then you can loot it. And it looks like it's about to be midnight, guys. We're on the verge of 2021, so I guess you know what I'm doing at this time. Happy New Year's, everybody. It's midnight. Cheers. Just sending the obligatory Happy New Year's texts. Sorry about this, guys. This is what happens when you start to make a video on New Year's Eve. Just telling my friends here, Happy New Year's. Let's see here. I have a tradition of saying happy birthday to my friends on New Year's for whatever reason. Happy birthday! So there's that. Okay. Sorry for that little interlude. I hope everybody's having a good time. The next weapon is the large, or not the large, the, well, is it the large? I guess it's called, in English, the large sword, Makoto. This weapon you get in Pure White Tendency in Shrine of Storms 4-2. It has the highest bleed of any weapon in the game. Well, when you fully upgrade it, it does 600 bleed. 18 strength, 13 dex to wield, no scaling. It's not super powerful, but it's got that bleed damage. Its main use is that it lowers your HP when you wield it, which is, you know, not great, but it's useful for when you want to go into hyper mode. I don't know why I'm trying to show it off. I guess do meet the requirements to two-hand it. So I can actually wield this weapon two-handed because, oh yeah, 13, we have 18 dex. So yeah, that's the Makoto. Nothing too fancy, just the fact that it lowers your HP and is a good way to get into hyper mode. So if you don't want to lose health, keep that unequipped. I have done a playthrough where I went through a whole level using that. You have to keep an eye on your HP and use regen to offset it. The next weapon is the penetrating sword. This is Peeve's favorite weapon. I thought I brought that. Did I go past it? Yeah, here it is. This weapon requires 22 strength, 16 dex. You get it by dropping off a ledge in Boletaria 1-3. You can also get it from killing the Black Phantom in 1-4 that wields it. E scaling and strength, C and dex. It's a pretty cool weapon. It has the basic straight sword moveset, only it's the longest straight sword in the game. It does particularly high damage on that thrust attack. That's its main move. But all short swords have that, or straight swords rather. I can't wield it properly. One-handed, so I can't really show off how strong that attack is. It can be buffed. It can be buffed. And it's a fun weapon to use if a bit underpowered, but it's very stylish and I think a pretty cool weapon overall. The next weapon is the Phosphorescent Pole. This weapon you get from killing Black Phantom Rydell in Latria 3-1. This is a pole arm. It does regular damage, and it scales C in strength, E in dex, and D in magic. I think it will scale better in magic when you fully upgrade it, and it's a pretty good magic weapon. And I think its scaling with strength stays at C. And it does require 16 strength, 16 dex, and 12 magic. And it has a high amount of base magic damage that it does. So, and as a unique property, it does MP regen. So if you notice, my MP is at 19. I think every few seconds it should go up. Now it's at 23. I don't know why, but it doesn't seem to show that in the menu like it did in the original game. But actually, if you have a +5 phosphorescent pole in one hand and a +4 in the other hand, and the fragrant ring, that's the max passive MP regen you can get. Let's see if we can't. Yeah, we can. We can do pretty bad damage with it. It's your standard polearm moveset. You've seen me use polearms quite a bit. So yeah, that's the phosphorescent pole. I really like the look of this weapon, and I've always wanted to do a build that takes advantage of the magic and strength and dex. Mainly strength. But I think overall this is good for magic users. Magic builds, or magic builds that are also melee focused. Spell swords, that they're generally called. So that is the phosphorescent pole. And up next is the Rune sword and the Rune shield. This is Ostrava's. These are his weapons. I can't wield them properly. They look really cool. Now they deal mad. This sword, 10 strength, 18 magic. It doesn't scale with magic. It has poor scaling overall, but it does high magic damage. That's its main perk. Has really low durability at 80. Comparatively for a straight sword, if you compare to the short sword, which is 200. But yeah, if you have 18 magic, if you're a magic build and you want a strong magic weapon, this could work, but it is outclassed by weapons that scale with your magic stat. But if you want to cosplay or you just want to look cool, this is a fun weapon to use. And the shield, it's companion, blocks 100% physical, 60 magic, 70 fire, which is all pretty good, but it has a pretty poor guard break reduction at 50. I don't know if that gets any better when you upgrade it. I can't remember. It requires 18 magic to use, though, so I don't know. These are, like I said, probably more geared for players who are wanting to go for a cosplay build of Ostrava, or just enjoy the look of them. They're not gonna... They might be good at lower levels because it doesn't scale with anything. Interesting that I don't get the magic from it, the magic effect. I've already shown off the Stormbrandt, or the Soulbrandt. The next weapon is the Storm Ruler, which I think it's the only weapon here that you cannot upgrade. And this is, as you know, the weapon that you use to kill the Storm King. And it has that unique effect. It does not require any stats to use. It does not scale with anything. It has a flat 150 damage. You can upgrade it. It has the lowest durability of any in the game at 10. It's pretty weak. Its main effect is that it sends enemies flying. It's particular in PvP. It will send your opponent flying with any attack you land on it, pretty much. I think any R1 attack. So yeah, that's the Storm Ruler. It has the same moveset as any large sword. It's basically a troll weapon, good weapon to knock your opponent in PvP off a ledge. And it looks cool. The next is the Talisman of Beasts. This is a talisman you get from Scurver. If I just... It can be used to apply buffs, because it can cast both miracles and spells. But I don't meet the requirements for the magic. So, people like using this for cracked talisman. They call it a cracked talisman of beast. When you don't meet the magic or faith requirements, you can still cast cursed weapon on any weapon that you can buff, and you won't get the HP drain penalty. You won't get one as severe. Instead of 10%, it'll be only 1 HP per second. So that's the Talisman of Beast. You get this from killing Black Phantom Scurver, or alternatively, you can get one for completing Mephistopheles' quest line when you kill a Strava. We're almost through here. Next is the Tower Shield. The Tower Knight's Shield. You get this in a few ways. You get it down by Bjor in the tunnel, and you free him in 1-2. This has the highest stability of any shield in the game when you fully upgrade it. I think it's like 78. It might even be in the 80s. Sorry, my throat is pretty dry. But it has 100% physical, 60 magic, 90 fire. So it's an overall really good shield. It's very heavy though at 30 units and requires 30 strength to use. Pretty situational shield. I don't know many builds that would want to use this. I think a few troll builds I've seen that go naked and just use this shield. Excuse me, combined with the scraping spear to just do pokes, and you really just can't break their guard. But if you know what you're doing, if you have a large sort of Moonlight, you just completely ignore it. Has a high durability of 600. Probably you could do a shield only run and smack the crap out of things with it. I don't know. Yeah, it seems like it would do decent damage. 100 plus it gets descaling in strength. And finally, we come to the last weapon on the list, and that is the white bow. I don't meet the strength requirement, or I don't meet the dex requirement. 24 dex, 30 strength. It's a pretty steep cost, but this bow is quite cool. It looks amazing, and it has the highest range of any bow in the game. I believe that to be the case. 75, yeah. Versus this would be 65 if it were sticky. 60 as it is. So 75. It's actually not, despite its high dex requirement. It only scales E in dex and strength. So while it's a really cool bow, it's overall not, unless you're going for specifically this bow in particular because you like the way it looks, it's generally not a bow that a lot of players will use because it's outclassed by the sticky compound longbow. But yeah, this is the white bow. And while I do have a few minutes here, I just wanted to quickly showcase how bad crossbows are in this game. So I'll just quick reload the area to get the enemies back. I can just show, yeah, it doesn't do any damage because I don't meet the requirements. So this will equip, we'll equip heavy bolts, which are this is the strongest bolts you can use on a light crossbow. Well, first of all, I just straight up missed that guy. And this is the light crossbow. We're doing 37 damage. 36 damage. And, you know, it takes a while to load and reload. 36 damage. This thing requires 10 strength. Crossbows don't scale at all. So pretty much any build can use this. You get this early on in Boletaria in this level. You just have to drop down from up by the catapults up there. Yeah, and that's with the heavy bolts. So that's the light crossbow. This is the heavy one. For reference, that one is 2.5 units. This one is 5. And we'll see that this does 50 damage. Now, you know, it's better than the light crossbow, but still, you can't upgrade these things. So apart from maybe early on in the game, it's really hard to find a real good use for these crossbows. And there is the Gargoyle Crossbow, which I don't meet the requirements for because you need 16 magic. It actually scales B in magic, so this goes well with black bolts. I'm not doing the proper damage, but if you have high magic and you use black bolts deal magic damage. This is the strongest crossbow in the game, but I've played on a character with 99 magic, and this, I mean, this, you see how bad it is. Like by the time I'm done reloading, like half the time it misses. See how it does with, yeah, with heavy bolts. It's nowhere near as good. So yeah, that's the Gargoyle Crossbow, guys. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope everybody is having a happy new year. I wish a happy new year to all of you. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next one. Umbasa.